Good evening. I'm Brett, and welcome to my backyard. Tonight, I want to show you a few of the tree seeds I've been collecting this fall, and these are just some. Mostly, these have come from my garden. A few have come from other friends that I've swapped with. But first one I want to show you is this one here. It's a mimosa seed, and let's start off with the pod. Generally, they come two of them, kind of a double pod here together. As you can see, there's quite a few seeds in each pod. Now, these are Southeast Asian tree. A lot of things here in East Texas and Asia kind of correspond. We got similar climate here, Israel, kind of fall along the same line across the earth. And so a lot of things that'll work over there work over here. Sometimes we have to watch out because some of the things that grow well over there will grow extremely well over here. We may not have some things that keep them from producing as much, and they may become what they call invasive. The mimosa tree is one here that could fall into this category. This is very popular back in the 1950s. If anybody had a home back in the 1950s, they had a mimosa tree out front. This was a status symbol, and they produce a lot of these little bitty seeds. Let's see if I can get that on there. See how small this little seed is? But these are a lovely tree. They're fast growing. These things can grow up to 3 feet a year. Got several I've already pulled out of the shell there. One thing that's kind of universal with trees is the faster that they grow, the shorter the lifespan. And so these mimosa trees, they can grow up to 3 feet a year, like I was saying. Most of the time they reach a maximum height of about 20 feet. And so their general lifespan is about 10 to 20 years. And so, like I said, back in the 1950s, very popular tree here, but people have quit propagating them as much. A lot of times now they're just wild, floating around our area, and you may have one that self-propagates and somebody doesn't mow a fence line or something very effectively and it happens to come up. But not a lot of people are growing these around like they used to, and so I'm hoping to, over the course of this next spring, get some of these started again in our area. They're a very beautiful tree. They've got these beautiful pink flowers that come up. We'll love them. Like to see a resurgence of these here. Let's move that out of the way. Next thing I want to talk about is a couple of the fruit trees I've got. These right here, they're a little ragtag today, but these are some of the local peaches. These peaches actually came from the peach trees in my yard. As you can see, this seed's got a lot of definition to it. Very easy to grow, very easy to store. Big thing is hopefully you're eating that peach off of the seed. Don't know why you'd let that go to waste. But once you do, get it kind of cleaned up just a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfect. You can see these, I just got most of the material off of them. I let them dry over the fall and winter. Start them in early in the spring. You can even start them beginning of January inside the house if you'd like to. And very easy to grow. I think that everybody should be planting more fruit trees everywhere. It's good to have a nice snack growing in the backyard. Move them out of the way. Another one I've got, several of these here. I've never gotten a big crop of these, but these are plum seeds. And I've started letting some of them dry. These are really easy to grow. In fact, every year, I got a whole bunch of these that just come up volunteer all over the place. I've started trying to transplant a few of them. I'm going to actually put some in pots this year and get them growing where I would like them to grow for once. But they produce, as you can see, quite a bit per tree, and very easy to dry. You can just spread them on a cookie sheet or anything, let them dry either outside or take them inside. I wouldn't recommend dehydrating these, but they're a good one, easy to dry. Just watch out a lot of these fruit seeds, biggest problem is squirrels and different things like that. They also like them as much as we do, so they may get some. That's okay, we got quite a bit. Alright, next thing I got, here's a couple of these. These were given to me, and I'm going to try to grow them this year. I've had an apple tree before. We had some bad conditions a couple years ago. I lost my apple trees I had, but this is an apple tree. This is what old Johnny Appleseed went around planting all over the United States here. Very small, but it grows to a big tree. These things can grow 100 feet tall, produce lots of apples. Most of these fruit trees, you can expect between about 6 to 10 years before you really get your first crop, and usually about 10 years before you get a really good crop of fruit from these fruit trees. Our next one here is lemon. Not native to our area, but we do like our citrus here. Nothing else. Make a good drink or something with one. Also a little smaller seed. Here in East Texas, we are in a zone 8. Not a great citrus area, but they do grow most of the year. Good to plant citrus in pots in our area, because you may want to bring them inside over winter. But who wouldn't want to have a lemon tree inside with them? Good for zesting, good for drinks, like I say. Excellent. Just put a little sugar on them, eat one. They're delicious. This is one of mine here that everybody in the city loves this one. This is our southern spreading magnolia. These come from a tree. I'm lucky enough, I just happened to inherit this one. I've lived here about 19 years, and this tree was planted by the people that were here before me. So as much as we can estimate, it's probably between about 80, 85 years old. And they grow these big, beautiful white flowers in the spring, and very fragrant. In fact, you can take one of these flowers, put them in a bowl of water, set them on your dining room table, kind of like an air freshener. They will liven up a whole room. Very fragrant, beautiful. It's a southern spreading magnolia, and after the flower wilts, they grow these pods here. And as you can see, it's kind of like a pine cone. It's got all these little different orifices that a seed can grow in. And most of the time, you will not have every one of these produce a mature seed. Some produce more than others. Some of them I might only get 2 or 3 seeds from. Some of them you might get a couple dozen. A lot of times the birds take care of a lot of them. But this year, I tell you what, we got, as you can see, a good crop of these this year. Now, one thing with the magnolia is, over the years we've found out they really need a striation process, and that's just a fancy word that means they like to have a little bit of cool temperatures. And so the seed, when it's fresh, let's see if we got one here. This one's one I just picked today. As you can see, it is a bright red color. They're very soft, got a lot of moisture in them here. And if you get too many of these together here, these here, a problem I've had a few times is they might mold if you get too many of them together. So I like to lay them out like this, get them a little protection, but a little sun, let them dry for a few days here. Some people might soak the seeds in water for a few days and peel the shell off. If you peel the shell off, it kind of looks like a little peanut. Here we go. And this is what we want to plant. I'm going to try planting a few of these that are just dried, but like I said, some of these like a little cold temperature. Now, we don't always get enough cold here in East Texas, so what I'm going to try this year is, I got an extra refrigerator. In the South, you know what I'm talking about. And we're going to take and we're going to put these seeds in probably some moss, sphagnum moss, something like that. Kind of keep them a little bit separated, Keep a little bit of moisture to them, but not overly much. And we're going to put them in the fridge over the course of the winter so that they think we've had a harsher winter than it actually was. And then we'll try planting them come spring and see how that works out. Several of your plants like this, they do require, like I said, striation. Remember that word? We're going to use it again. Then also here in Texas, one of our biggest things is our oaks. And I got a couple different ones here. Our first one's a live oak. These are great shade trees. Everybody should have a few of these, blocking that harsh west sun. You can see the dark brown color. They'll start dropping, mostly because squirrels knock them off, but they'll start dropping a little green. You want to wait until they get browner in color like this on these live oaks. You can plant these just about any time of year. A little waxy feeling. Good thing about oak trees is they're a long-lasting tree. They're going to be slower to grow. So if you end up buying a new house, I'd recommend planting some oaks, but be good looking for a house that already has some of these mature, because they do take a while to mature. And but they can live hundreds of years. And so these live oaks are very popular here in East Texas. We've got them all over the town. Beautiful trees. Now, one thing I've got here is what they call a bur oak. And these are some early droppers. This is a bur oak. These things can get the size of golf balls. In fact, when I first moved here, we used them for golfing out in the front yard sometimes. You'll notice there's a little bit difference in the size of your live oak and your bur oak. A lot of your trees grow in clumps of 3 to 6 like this. Just a good spacing. So they'll stop the growing. But these are a pretty easy tree to grow as well. Watch where you plant these, because if you got something like this dropping on top of your truck, it could cause some some hail damage. So something to think about. All right, now next I got, this is Texas Buckeye or Mexican Buckeye, not to be confused. Oh, we got several this year, so we got a pot full. There's a Ohio Buckeye. Y'all might know the football team up there. And then we got a Texas or a Mexican Buckeye. Usually the Ohio is a white flowered tree. This one here, they also call it a Texas firecracker bush. This thing is one of my favorite trees. It grows these beautiful red flowers in the spring, and no kidding, these things get a foot tall, and they attract bees by the thousands. Bees love this tree. Apparently it makes great honey also. But these Buckeyes here, beautiful. Look at the wood grain in this seed. They're beautiful. And the reason they call it a Buckeye, kind of looks like a buck's eye. But these things here, like I say, they usually grow in groups of about 1 to 3. So you may have 3 of these big boys growing together as well. Another thing, kind of like the bur oak, you do not want this falling on your pickup truck. But when they fall, they're wet. Now, when these fall, you can plant them just as they are. I would recommend probably drying these for about 3 days, 2 to 3 days when they fall, and then you can go ahead and plant them. But these are another tree, just like the Magnolia there, that they can handle striation. Now, I did learn you do not want to keep them in a bucket like this when they're wet for very long, because they will also mold just like us. But we're going to try striation. These things can handle about 4 months, 120 days of striation, cooled in the refrigerator, and then bring them back out in the spring and plant them again. And well, that's all right, I got plenty more. Like I said, you can plant them in the fall. They do really well. They handle the cold okay. You want to plant them on the south side of your house if you do go planting them. But I'm going to try to do a little bit of both this year. Plant some on the south side, put some in the fridge. We're going to plant them next spring. We'll do another video of those later. One of my favorite trees I'd love to watch it. That week that they bloom, you won't see a prettier tree in all East Texas. And last, another one native here to Texas, one of our favorites. I'll tell you what, if you got trees that you ain't just growing for food, I don't know what you do. We got some native pecans here. These are starting to drop. These are wonderful, good to eat, nice oily nut here. Love these, lots of things you can do with them. A lot of these, I think the natives around the area call it a paper shell. They're very easy to crack. In fact, a lot of times you can just put two of them together in your hand and crack them like that. One thing I want to show you here today is one that we got. This is called a mohawk. Now this is kind of a hybrid compared to our native paper shell here. I'm gonna try to grow a few of these. Now I don't know if they will produce as big as this one, but we're gonna find out. These got a lot more meat to them. So if you can find some of these, go for these. Take a lot less effort. And then I have another variety. Like I said, these are a couple kinds of pecans here from East Texas, but my friends up north, they have been recommended. I grow pecans, so we're gonna grow a couple pecans this year and see how that works out. Don't know if we'll have a good work as our native pecans, but these pecans, they're always interesting. We'll give them a try. So hope y'all enjoyed that video tonight about over some of the trees we've got here at Brett's backyard. If y'all got any comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Like and share with your friends. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.